Hey, this is Lucas Barfield, and welcome back to On the Record. And for this week's episode, we are going to be talking about a subject that is near and dear to my heart, and that is a sport for the blind called goalball. And to help us talk about the game and to kind of get into some strategy and what this game is all about, we have a player from Seattle's here with us today, and one of my fellow teammates is here with us from the Tacoma team, the Grit City Sound. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good.
All good.
All right, so let's get right into it. Before we get going, though, I wanted to kind of go around the room and for you guys to introduce yourself. So tell us your name, what team you play for, and since this is a sport for the blind, I want to give folks an idea of kind of like who's playing the game and reiterate that it is a sport for the blind. Tell us what kind of disease or what visual impairment issue you have. I'll start with me. My name's Lucas Barfield. I play for the Grit City Sound, and I have a visual disease called retinitis pigmentosus. So let's start with our guest, Richard.
Well, I'm Richard Asu. I play for the Seattle King Cobras, number 5. I've been playing for about 5 years now. I just started the 6th season. My visual impairment is retina atrophy, optic nerve atrophy. It's a whole plethora of things. So,
Hey y'all, my name is Honda Sao. People call me Honda, and I play for the Grit City Sound. I've been visually impaired since 1996. I had 20/20 vision before that, and when I lost my eyesight, went to all the doctors and all the specialists, and they told me I have an eye condition called Leber's Hereditary Optic Neuropathy, LHON, and we also have a Facebook page on that. If you know family members or anybody else that's affected by that disease, you are welcome to join us. And I've been playing goalball for Tacoma when I discovered the sport back in, I believe, 2011.
So you guys were talking about how long you've been playing. I've been playing about 11 to 10 years. I wanted to ask you guys real quick, though, because, goalball is not one of these sports where it's like all out in the open. Personally, I grew up visually impaired, and I never heard about the sport until one day I was walking here in South Tacoma, and my future coach chased me down on the street and was like, hey, have you ever heard of this sport? And I was like, no, no idea that there was actually a sport for blind people. And I called her up about a month later and started playing. But it was really interesting that I had just never heard of it, even though I was in the blind community. I wanted to hear from you guys. Honda, how did you first get going playing this sport?
I was a member of the Pierce County Association of the Blind. And at the same time, I was doing my practicum or internship for the University of Washington Tacoma campus at an organization called Tacit. And Metro Parks came to one of our meetings and introduced themselves and told us about what they do, what they had, and all this stuff, right? Parker Ayers was talking about a sport called goalball. He described it. He showed us the ball, which was the size of a basketball, weighs about maybe 2 pounds, has bells inside, it's made of rubber, it's fully inflated, but it's kind of hard. And he was describing the sport as I was curious. Say, okay, a sport for a blind person or blind individuals, that's kind of unusual. And he invited all of us to go out and give it a try. And at that time, I was just a member. Then I became the president of that organization. And I went out and I was, introduced to the sport. And I was the only person that was on that team at the time. And we weren't really a team. And so-called, and over time, it's like, okay, kind of interesting, not too bad. Then as more people join, as I went to tournaments, I said, okay, this is something that I can really enjoy. I mean, I really enjoy, and this is something that I can compete in. And I just fell in love with the sport, over time. And I've been doing it ever since. About 2011, I guess, 2011-ish. And I've been doing it until then, and still enjoy it till now,
All right. So, my upbringing, I had pretty good vision throughout my childhood and was very athletic. I kind of moved around through basketball, football, soccer. I was just an all-purpose athlete. Had a really big hunger for the competitiveness of sports. When I was introduced to it, I was just coming to grasp with my blindness, and got to a point where I started to be dependent on the cane. So I joined the Washington State Department of Services, the blind program there. And I was still fighting the fact that I was going blind. So I would play basketball at 24-Hour Fitness, LA Fitness, go to the gyms. I would lift weights, I'd do all these things to try to avoid the fact of being blind. And one time we were having a seminar, and there was an introduction to Go-Ball. And a lot of people there used to talk about it. And even though they gave the presentation, I still was a bit hesitant, didn't want to give up my sighted reality. And so whenever they would invite me, I'd just make up an excuse and not show up. Briefly after that, 2018, I started working at the Lighthouse for the Blind. And a lot of the people around there would always talk about Go-Ball, Go-Ball, Go-Ball. So I remembered one day I was playing 24-Hour Fitness. I was playing there. I'm a pretty large person. I'm 6'4", 250, and I always played the center position in basketball or power forward. And I got hit in the face with the ball that I didn't see. And that told me there that I'm fighting something that I needed to let go. So I entertained the idea of Go-Ball when everybody used to talk about it. I was invited to a practice. At that time, Pat Copeland and Tony were running a program under Vision Loss. It was the Vision Loss not-for-profit organization. We used to practice there, and this is where I first met Honda and Jacob, and they came to a scrimmage, and I was fairly new. I fell in love with the sport the first time I got hit in the face with the ball. I did not know what to expect. I went to a practice with no pads, had absolutely no understanding of the game, none of it. Went to lay down and got hit in the face, and after that, I was sold. So I realized that this sport, you can get very competitive. It's high intensity. The ball's moving fast. The ball can get up to anywhere from 30 to 40 miles an hour. Takes a lot of technique, takes a lot of studying, strategy with your teammates. So I became a Seattle King Cobra. I invested a lot of time in my training and the way that I started to eat. And right now I believe myself to be an elite player. Everything I do when it comes to Go-Ball is timed and organized. So it's a great experience. I'm in my sixth year now. Just started it, and yeah, that's where I'm at so far. And the story's not up yet, so there's still more chapters to add to.
I remember that scrimmage. Our coach Heidi, drove all of us up there, and I knew some of the guys from the Seattle teams. There was a couple new people that was at the scrimmage. And I told my coach that, don't worry about it. I got them, I felt at the time I was at my peak, not my peak, but at a good point in my life, competitive wise and everything like that, And afterward, I remember meeting you and you were telling me about this is your first scrimmage. I said, oh, yeah, this is good. This is fun. This is a really fun game, a fun sport. And, next thing you know, it's like years later, it's like, oh gosh, this guy's gonna kill me, you know, on the court, you know. That's what I feel now, right? When I play against you, like, oh, this guy's gonna kill me, you know.
Yeah. The cool thing about it is how we're able to mix it up, and we've been around each other so long that, you know, we start scouting each other. You know, hey, what's Honda's tendency here? Like, where does he play defense at? And we're, you know, trying to get the advantage by all means by just looking at the cadence, like listening to your footwork, the release of the ball. You know, these are the type of things that you have to do to make sure that we keep that competitive edge. I still remember that. I still remember playing with you and Jacob. I remember that, and I remember scoring twice, and the ball movement. I remember you were always there where you needed to be, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. Because at that time, I wasn't as athletic or as aware of how big the actual court was. So I was pretty surprised on your guys' movement at that time. I was like, whoa, these guys are really covering some ground.
Yeah, it really has been fun to play with you guys and learn. And that's kind of my similar story to you there, Richard. I never was able to play sports when I was a kid, but I was in a very sports-rich environment. My dad was a baseball coach, was really good at it, and so it was always around, and other sports too, of course. We used to go out every year and be like, oh, let's see if we can actually play baseball. And like, we throw the ball back and forth, and by about after an hour, like, oh, well, I guess not quite able to see good enough to play. And so when I first got on the goalball court, I was like you. I played my first tournament in blue jeans, and just not protected all the way. I didn't have any pads or anything, but I was just so like, I'm ready to go, that none of that even mattered. And so it was just really great to get out there and play. And that was actually right here in Tacoma. We had our first tournament. It was a really great turnout that year, and it kind of got going. And you have, over your 6 years, moved up to as an elite player, and you guys actually came in third at the national championships. We'll talk about that here soon. And recently, in just a tournament last week, you guys came in a really close second. I want to ask the computer, what is goalball?
Goalball is a sport specifically designed for blind players. There are both women's and men's teams. International goalball rules require the field of play to be 18 meters long by 9 meters wide. Goals span the width of the court, which is roughly the size of a volleyball court, and are 1.5 meters tall. The court is divided into 6 even sections, 3 by 9 meters. Just in front of each goal is the team area. Beyond that is each team's landing zone. The middle 2 sections are collectively referred to as the neutral zone. When throwing the ball, teams are charged with a high ball penalty if the ball doesn't touch the floor in the landing zone. The object of the game is to get the ball in the goal for the offense and stop the ball from entering the goal for the defense. To guide the players, the sidelines and lines on the court are made by placing tape over lengths of twine. This makes the line both visual for officials and tactile for players. The team area and landing zone, including the boundary, goal lines, and high ball lines, are always marked in this way. Furthermore, the team area has 6 hash marks, 3 at the front, 1 on either side, and 1 on the goal line in the middle to assist with player orientation. The ball weighs 1.25 kilograms, has 8 holes, and contains several noise bells. The ball's diameter is around 24 centimeters. Each team has 3 players on the court at a time, with 1 to 3 substitute players on the bench. At the para-Olympic level, the ball has been measured leaving the player's hand in excess of 60 kilometers per hour.
So we're going to play a clip real quick here and familiarize the audience even more with the sport of goalball. And this is a match between the Seattle King Cobras and a team called Manticore, who went on to win the gold medal. Manticore did. And this is in the semifinal match at the national championships that happened this past September. And there's a couple things in the clip that we're going to discuss afterwards, like penalties and some other stuff. So let's play this clip real quick, and then we'll talk about it.
We are ready to go here. Manticores will start with the ball, tossed into Josh Wellborn. From the left wing, throw down, kicked out of bounds by Richard Asu. Ball dropped in on the right side to Nathan Purcell. Purcell goes cross court, blocked by Zach Bueller. Bueller, big bounce ball, but too big of a bounce ball as it hits, called for the long ball. And Buehler will need to defend against Darrell Walker. Tokyo Paralympic teammates going head-to-head here. As Buehler crawls out to the high ball line to cut down the angle. Walker down the line, but wide. Darrell Walker throws it wide of the right post. And no damage done on that high ball penalty.
Okay, so a lot going on in that clip, and we'll talk here in a minute about some of the other things like throws and different strategies of the game here on our next clip. But right now I want to talk about penalties, because that is a big part of the game, and there's a penalty in that exchange right there called a long ball. Now, if you guys heard, there was a little hesitation there by the announcer because he probably almost got it mixed up with another penalty called a high ball. So I was going to ask you, Richard, for you to tell us what a long ball is and kind of what happens when there is a penalty. And then Honda, you could tell us what a high ball is.
All right. So a long ball is a penalty where the offense is throwing a ball that has to land one time into their landing zone. It's about a 6-meter area from goal to the high ball line. So this ball needs to touch at least one time before the high ball line in the landing zone, and it needs to touch down one more time in the neutral zone, which is another 6 meters in depth. A long ball is where it misses that second bounce, and it goes over the 6-meter distance on the second bounce. That's what a long ball is. And in result of the penalty, one person that the penalty is called on will have to defend the whole 9-meter goal against one other person that's going to be throwing the penalty shot. This is where the time is stopped, and this is just a one-on-one, one person guards 9 meters.
So what's a high ball, Honda?
High ball. Imagine indoor volleyball, right? It's a rectangular court, you know? And then when we throw, we have to throw before the high ball. The ball has to bounce before the high ball line. Now, if you throw and if you hold on to the ball a little bit too long, or you measure where you're at, and you release the ball, and it bounces past the high ball line, that's a penalty. So that's when you have to defend. Once you get that penalty, that individual have to defend the whole court by himself. And that's what make a penalty really, really challenging. And let's say if I got a penalty and the person throwing against me committed a penalty, that I can then return a penalty against that person. So it can be a double-edged sword sometime. Yeah. So that's the high ball.
Yeah, because you can throw a high ball or a long ball when you're trying to throw a penalty shot. So you have to be real careful because you can kind of erase your penalty because you're trying to, because it's for the audience, you guys, if you're familiar with soccer at the end when they have the shootout, it's kind of like that, like Richard says, a 1v1. And there's a lot of other penalties in the game too. There's one that gets people a lot, which is the 10-second penalty. And that is when the ball comes down, when it hits you, you got 10 seconds to pick it up and then throw it back. And then if you don't get in that 10 seconds, that's a penalty. And then it's more of a team penalty. So it's like a random player has to defend. Then you got other penalties that involve like the bench. Like one of the things on the bench, you can't talk. So if the audience heard when the person says, "Quiet, please," everybody has to be quiet on the team. And if you're not, then that's a penalty. What's some other penalties I'm missing here?
Oh, you have the noise penalty, the penalty that you were just talking about, where when you're on defense, you're able to talk as much as you want. So as soon as the ball touches you, you are now an offensive player. And if another teammate on the court makes noise while you're starting your run-up or your throw, that would be called a noise penalty as well. Another penalty, and this is a penalty that doesn't really get called so much, but it's called a short ball. I believe it's called a short ball penalty. And this is where a person throws the ball from their side of the court and it does not reach the landing zone. So some people, they want to waste time or run the clock, so they'll just throw a really slow ball. And if it doesn't make it to a certain point on the court, that's called a short ball penalty.
Another penalty that happens once in a while is usually that happens to rookies to the sport or somebody new to the sport, is touching their eye mask.
Ooh, good one.
Everybody playing the game is required to wear an eye shade made of hard rubber and foam, so nobody can see anything through it at all. And if, you're sweating, you're itching from, whatever, and you touch your eye shades, that's a personal penalty.
And if your eye shades get dislodged or are uncomfortable, the player needs to raise their hand and wait until the official acknowledges them, and then we'll walk up to the player so that they can adjust their eye shades. Another penalty as well is a unsportsmanlike penalty. Unfortunately, in Arizona last weekend, I probably got the only one penalty as far as unsportsmanlike that I've probably ever seen, ever. And it resulted from me defending the ball. And then when the ball was rolling back over to the other side of the court, I realized that it was passing the half part of the court. So I just tried to bump it with my foot to assist it to a referee. Well, that's kicking the ball, even though it wasn't a horrendous kick or, that I didn't have any venom in the actual act. It's still unsportsmanlike. So I had to defend the whole 9-meter mouth of the goal.
Yeah, and then one that'll come up on you too is the delay a game. So if you're not if you do a timeout and you're not ready to go when it's time to go, then they'll delay the game. Or if you don't have there's a lot of team penalties. Like if you have the wrong numbers on your roster, they'll give you a penalty. If you're not back at halftime in time or you're not there for the game, they'll give you a penalty. So this sport is really involved with a lot of different stuff. And I'm sure we're forgetting some penalties too, but there's all these little things in there. And, it's really interesting, to play this, keeping up with all this and you're blindfolded. So we're going to talk about that here in a minute, but I want to play this second clip. And this one it's a little longer, but it has some other stuff in there. Then we'll talk about after the clip, some of the more advanced, features of how to play. So I'm going to play this clip real quick and then we'll discuss it.
Purcell bounce ball cross court, bodied out by Zach Bueller. Ball dropped into Bueller. Cross court bouncer blocked by Purcell. Hands it to Darrell Walker. Darrell Walker from the left wing, gap shot, blocked by the legs of Wellborn. Jordan Main will hand it off to Zach Bueller. From the right wing, bouncer down, stopped by the hands of Richard Askew, gathered by Darrell Walker. Walker, big bouncer down, blocked by Main. Main hands it to Wellborn. Wellborn, smooth ball down, blocked out of bounds by Purcell. Nathan Purcell moves over to the left post to take this shot. Throws it middle, stopped by Jordan Main. Main will hand it off to Zach Bueller on the right wing. Bueller bouncer down. Richard Askew, the center, makes the save, gives it to Nathan Purcell. He's switched wings with Darrell Walker. He's thrown from the left now. Throws it middle, blocked by Jordan Main.
So a lot of different things in there. I wanted to just get you guys' impression, because you're hearing a couple spots in there where people are handing the ball off and switching spots and everything. I know for me, because we're doing all this, we've mentioned this a couple times, but just to reiterate, everybody is blindfolded. And so you're moving real fast and you're having to hand off and everything. What are some strategies that you're using to try to hand off or move, but you're blindfolded on the court?
Well, this is where practice is really important. If you don't practice handing off the ball, let's say, for example, if the center is defending the whole front line and he blocked a ball and he retrieves it and he doesn't want to throw, and he can either pass it to his wings, either the right or the left, by dropping the ball to them, or that individual can get up and walk to his left wing or his right wing and hand the ball off to them. And handing the ball off is just it's more, I guess you can say, more stealth, approach or strategy to the game, because it doesn't make noise, right? It doesn't make a lot of noise. It might make some noise, but not much. So the opposing team won't know who has the ball. That's the object to doing that. That's the point to doing that is, when we hand it off to our teammates, teammate at least, and to the right or to the left, then the opposing team have to guess where the ball is at before we throw it out to them,
So, as well, as far as the strategy part of it, just to reiterate, everybody's blindfolded. So the defense, they're listening very carefully to any hint that they can get to give them an advantage. One of the most important things as a center or while playing defense just on the wings is identifying where exactly the thrower is coming from. Because in practice, this is what we do a lot of, is we try to limit the amount of opportunity that another team has to score. So if the person all the way on the left hand of the defense has the ball, we try to put all three bodies to the left side of the court so that the biggest opening is the furthest away from that thrower. So one of the strategies as an offense now is to play mind games with the defense, making noises, slapping the ground, things to divert their attention to something else. And Honda spoke about being stealth. We practice how to put our hands on the goal, and whoever has the ball has the leeway or has the right of way to cross the mouth of the goal. And we practice how to walk with the ball without the ball making any noise, because the ball does have bells in them. So we can walk to one side, make noise, and then walk right back where we started from, just to divert the attention of the defense to move around. So it's a lot of gamesmanship. It's a lot of distractions and just anything that can give you the advantage. Because one of the biggest things for a defense is not knowing where the ball is coming from. So instead of identifying where the thrower is, you're looking the other direction, and that's how goals happen in the game of goalball.
Yeah, and switching up those throws. There was a couple different kind of throws. They mentioned the bounce ball, and then there's a smooth ball, and it's kind of pretty obvious the difference between the two. One is trying to go stealthy, kind of real fast down the court. Though the bounce ball is louder, but it's a little harder to defend. And kind of like you were saying, kind of trying to throw the defense off. Just keep switching those throws up, because the way to defend those two different balls is going to be totally different. And so and then you got a skip ball, which is kind of like a bounce ball, but not quite as high. And, of course, trying to put spin on the ball. You mentioned a while back those slow ball, like a short court ball. Those were here right when we first started playing, but I haven't seen one in a while. I know there's a player came and played with us for a while, had a really deadly smooth silent ball where you just take the ball and kind of barely roll it down there. And when that happens, those things, like, it's coming, and it's coming real slow, but you can't hear it. And so those things were really kind of I mean, most of the time you will defend them, but they will get by you because it's coming so slow and you just don't know.
Absolutely. And the different style of balls, that depending on the thrower, especially with what the thrower specializes in. Darrell Walker has a really good smooth ball and skip ball, a lot of power into it. But he has a very, very stealthy-like approach to his throw. So for a lot of defenders, they can't even hear him throw the ball. They just, all of a sudden, it's right there on them. So when people are expecting that throw, they're really low to the ground because they know it's going to be coming really fast. And then that's when he'll switch it up and throw one of the big bounce throws where now that they've already committed to diving to the ground, the ball just flies right over them and into the goal.
For me, like Richard said, he's a really big guy. He's 6'4". For those who don't know, I'm not that big. I'm 5'5", maybe a 160. I don't have a very powerful throw. I don't have a really high bounce ball. I don't normally throw a lot of bounce ball. And, I know my strengths and weaknesses. And so what I do is I want the ball to go where I want it to go. So accuracy to me is really important. I know where I know where my, the defenders are. I can hear them when they make noise. I can hear them when they speak. I can hear them when they move. And I can imagine where the gaps would be. And that's where I try to make the ball go to. Between the gaps. Or hit, ankle. Or hit a toe. Or hit a knee. And it doesn't work all the time. But it happens, That's my, that's what I try to do when I play. For me, accuracy is more important, I know I don't have that powerful throw like Darrell Walker, I don't have the powerful bounce ball, but I can make the ball move between somebody once in a while.
Yeah, because even if the ball's not coming fast, if you're not there, you're not there, and it'll just go right by you. Because like we say, you're blindfolded, and so if the ball's coming, you don't get to the right spot. And Honda, you're real good at anticipating where that ball's going to come. So that's one of the ways to defend against the people that play like similar to Darrell with those really fast balls. You almost got to position yourself right where they're going to come and just be there. Or you're probably not even going to have a chance to get it a lot of times.
The way I see it, I think everybody has a pattern in the way they throw, the way they defend. And if they throw, usually each individual have about 2 or 3 different throws. And they have you can listen to the motion of the steps. And they can kind of predict where they're going to, what type of throw they're going to do, and then you can be at that spot to block it.
Well, also to add to that, Honda, is that, I said this earlier about identifying where the thrower is at. Once you're able to do that, you could stack 3 bodies on basically one whole half of the court. That's half of the battle there, is just finding out where the thrower's at and then using 2 people to kind of dictate where the openings are. A very popular defense that we play is all 3 people are within the hash marks, and the hash marks are approximately, I would say they're about 20 feet away from one another. It's 6 meters between each hash. So if you have 3 bodies inside of these 3 hashes, there's probably some overlap there. If everybody were to lay down, there's absolutely nothing there. You just created a wall. So the bad part about this is that the hash to the out of bounds line is 1.5 meters in length on both sides. So the only way a person can throw it without actually hitting somebody is a straight shot down the line. So the two wings that are on the edges, they know that they have to get there. So it's either they throw it into the wall, or it's basically they have to go outside, and you can use the out-of-bounds line as a fourth player. So that's just a little bit of strategy of how to mount a defense using all three bodies by identifying the thrower.
So we're about to be coming up on a tournament coming up. What's something you've been practicing on, trying to get better at? I know for me, I've just been trying to do like we were just talking about, is just kind of getting in that right spot and being there ready to go when the ball comes.
So yes, this next coming up weekend, it's February, I believe, 2nd to February 4th. We're all going to be competing at the Cascade Classic. What I've been really working on is smooth balls towards the outside, bounce balls towards the middle, and then just body positioning, understanding where I'm at on the court at all times. That, I believe, for me, that's one of the most important. Normally, I play center. I'm a very large person as far as height and width. I have a pretty good read on the ball, on identifying where people are, so I can convey that to my teammates that are on the court with me at that time, and then we move accordingly. So if I were to point out a couple of things I've been training on, it's the different style of throws I'll be throwing in different zones of the court, and trying to play more wing this time than center.
Richard, we went to the Nationals with the Seattle team. I know you're always on the Seattle team, but I was very fortunate enough and very grateful that the Seattle Division II team invited me to play. And you guys came in third with the bronze medal, and we came in second with the silver medal in the B division. But you guys got bronze in the A division, which makes the Seattle team the third best goalball team in the country as far as the tournaments go. What was it like prepping for nationals and getting ready for all that and winning that third medal spot?
Well, medaling is always a good thing. But as competitors, Lucas and Honda, we're always going for the gold. In prep to go there, there's a lot of dynamic warm-ups that we do, pre-game, post-game. So there's a lot of recovery that takes place in training. The tournament for us is probably the easiest part. The grueling 12 to 16 week training to lead up to the tournament probably is the hardest part. To me, I was a bit disappointed being in the third place or in the bronze medal match. I was glad to medal, don't get me wrong, but everybody wants the gold. And I do not believe that we put our best foot forward in our first game. We tried a couple of new things, and as teams we're growing, and it just didn't turn out good for us, but we were able to bounce back. We were resilient. I believe we lost the first game, and this is how we were kind of placed because of the loss in the first game. But I'm pretty sure that we won out after that. So we won the first game. We lost the first game. I believe we won 4 games in a row, 5 games in a row actually, because we won the quarterfinal. And then in semifinals, we lined up against the Manticore, which unfortunately we lost that game, so we went to the bronze medal match. But the team that did play Manticore in the gold medal match was Texas, which we beat Texas during the round robin portion of the tournament. So it was good. We played really well. We were reading the ball really well in the bronze medal match, but we left some stuff out there, and 2024, we're going back to get the gold.
Yeah, and that's already got started. You guys went to the Arizona tournament, but we came in second. I feel you. We kind of bungled that game. I have watched the first half of the game, but then the second half we were up like 3-1. Then the second half they came back and we lost 8-4. And it's just one of those things when you're competing. The ball goes one way and it just kind of throws you off your game, and then you just kind of things went downhill from there. But it really was great to win that second place, because most of us, that was all of our first national championship. But then, like you were saying, you just look back at it, you're like, wow, we should have got first, but should have, could have, But we're going to I think our Tacoma team, we're going to try to go to nationals next year, but I don't think we're going to make it back this year. But you guys are ready to go to nationals and getting geared up for this. You guys just went to Arizona tournament this past weekend and had an outstanding performance. You guys only lost one game, and that was in that, again, against the Manticores, and you guys tied the Manticores, which is the, number 1 seed in the country. So going from here, you guys went to Arizona, you went second. What's coming up as far as, Seattle and getting back to the nationals? What are you guys anticipating?
Well, at the Arizona tournament, first time ever, in Seattle King Cobra history so far, we were the number 1 seed going into Championship Sunday. We were undefeated all the way to that game. We tied the Manticore. We beat Texas. We got into that game, and we were just a little flat at that game. We were fortunate, as far as having a really good, strong, resilient team. We're all optimistic. So we're going to the tournament next week at the Cascade Classic. It's not a sanctioned tournament. So we're looking at about 2 more tournaments before Nationals. I believe Nationals is in either June or July, but the Atlanta tournament is late May. This is a Southeast Regional in Atlanta, Georgia. There might be one more tournament that I'm interested in, which is Cinco de Mayo in Texas, and this is a cash prize tournament. I believe the winning team wins $2,000. So if there's 3 people on the team and you win, you split the $2,000. I heard it's a wonderful facility. It's at the University of Texas, or the School for the Blind. I believe it's in Austin, Texas. I heard it's a really nice facility. So that's for me there. But nationals is our ultimate goal. I believe we are going to Atlanta as far as all the Cobras. Cinco de Mayo still up in the air.
Yeah, I'm going to try to go to the Atlanta tournament as a pool player this year. And the pool player is you can go and you can play with like a random team. Random players from around the country kind of come to tournaments that couldn't come with a team, and they form their own team called pool team. So I'm going to try to go to that this year. But I think, but our goal next year is to take our Tacoma team to nationals. We're going to try to go to that Arizona tournament and qualify, because the way the rules work in goal ball is if you go to a sanctioned tournament and you play, then you can qualify to go, and if you want to sign up and go and play in the nationals. So next year we're going to try to make it, and be Honda, me, and a couple other players. We're going to try to get out there. Right now in goal ball, sort of there is a big international scene in goal ball. Goal ball is an international sport. It was started in Europe, but it's kind of made its way around the world. What are we kind of predicting for the future of goal ball as a sport, and what's going to happen in the next couple of years with this sport? Honda, we'll start with you. What do you think about it?
Oh my goodness. I watch a lot of goal ball tournaments, games, mainly on YouTube, and I am fascinated with the different teams from different countries and different styles. My goodness, how do they do what they do? Everybody from America, South America, Canada, Brazil, China, Japan, you got Germany, Australia, Britain. And my goodness, everybody have their own unique approach to playing goal ball. And everybody's a powerhouse, but there can only be one. And my goodness, that number 1 position in the international sport, I give them props. That's Brazil.
So give us a little
awesome to watch,
Give us a little flavor. So what's something really interesting you're seeing on the international teams that we might not have talked about as far as right here with our conversation?
I would say when I watch or when I look at China, all 3 of those guys, center, left wing, right wing, all have power. They're all very mobile. They're very stealth, when they throw. Very stealthily when they throw. But when they play Brazil, or when they go up against Brazil, Brazil is super athletic. They can do the same thing. Very powerful. They can be anywhere. And they can keep up and crush anyone that they go against. That's in the past, couple of Paralympic Games. That's just me. So.
Yeah, when you watch the international game on YouTube, it's called ISABA. That's the sanctioning body for international sports. There's regional tournaments that happen, just like how we here domestically we have regional tournaments to qualify for national in our domestic competition in goalball. Internationally, it's similar. They have a regional tournament for the Pan Americans, where all the teams from the countries within the North American and South American continent compete against each other to win a spot to go to the Paralympics. The tournament just passed a couple of months ago, and the United States men's team is going to represent the United States in Paris 2024, coming up here later on this year. Unfortunately, the women did not qualify to go to Paris this year. Brazil is going to be there. Brazil is a powerhouse team. They are the world reigning champions. They're also the 2020 Paralympic Tokyo, Japan gold medal winners. In both of those tournaments, China was there competing for second place, or they were competing for the gold, but they ultimately got second place in both of those tournaments. So Honda is right on. Those are the two hottest teams at this point. But there's a lot of up-and-coming teams. America with some powerhouse players as well. Ukraine just upset one of the staples of European goalball, Lithuania.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's guys on the Lithuania team that are 47 years old, and probably his name's Ginnerik, number 7, probably has the fastest smooth ball, at least top 3. And these guys are throwing the ball anywhere from 40 to 55, 60 miles an hour. And this ball's 3 pounds. It's a 3-pound rubber ball with bells in it, and they're able to throw with that much velocity, that much power. Another thing that I've noticed on the international stage is that the different types of throws that people are coming up with. There's you could tell there's inspiration through techniques of shot put, or from track and field type throwing. The javelin, there's javelin throws that I see there. There's crow hops. There's 360 spin throws. There's bowling throws with a straight arm. There's a lot of different styles, a lot of different formations in defense, a lot of different talents. Just to share this last tournament that was pretty surprising. It was in England, Birmingham, and the top 3 or the top 2 teams of that tournament were from the Asian Pacific. It was South Korea and Japan. Japan won that tournament, and South Korea came in second. So there's powerhouses in all of these regions, and that's why they're going to be representing their respected countries coming up here in Paris 2024.
Yeah, that is going to be exciting coming up in Paris. And just to remind everybody, I forgot the year, but the Paralympics eventually will be coming to Los Angeles. So I'm looking at maybe trying to get down there.
2028.
Yeah, I'm trying to maybe look at maybe getting down there to see a game, and maybe some people we know from the United States teams will be there. And so that's something I'm kind of looking forward to, is kind of having goalball come over here and on the international level and play here in the United States. That's going to be really fun to watch. But the men's team going to Paris, that is exciting. That's going to come up soon. You mentioned a couple leagues there or things to watch. So if somebody wanted to get onto YouTube or something and watch this games, what are some things to search or any kind of channels that they could follow? I know one that I found on Facebook that's good to watch is called Goalball Scoreboard. And that person keeps that going, and they announce the games and put all the scores up there and everything. So that's one. Do you have a favorite channel that you use on Facebook, Honda, to watch Goalball? YouTube or Facebook?
I mainly watch Goalball on my iPad, and then I cast it to my TV. I have I believe a 55-inch flat screen TV that's hooked up to the internet, and I can cast it from my iPad to the TV, and I mainly use YouTube to do that. And USABA, the United States Association of Blind Athletes, they often will stream the tournament live, but and then that's how I watch the games. And also the Paralympics, will post videos on the games, and also the other tournaments and international world tournaments will post games on the YouTube as well,
Do you got a favorite spot to watch the games, Richard?
Yes. So there's a lot of USABA is the one that will live stream with commentary a lot of the tournaments that happen here domestically. The international sanctioning body for blind athletes is called ISABA. So International Blind Athletes Association, I believe is what it's called. That's the one that's going to have all the regional tournaments on it with commentary. It's going to have your European championships, your America championships, Africa, Asia. That's probably the one that's going to have a lot of that, a lot of the games around the world. Then there is another on YouTube. It's called USA Goalball, and the person who runs that channel just grabs a lot of videos that they're able to acquire and just puts their own little collection on there. So those are the main three that I'm able to actually follow along as far as live streaming for all the tournaments around the world. One more, and that's for Canada. Canada does run tournaments as well. I don't have the actual name of it, but if anybody were to Google, Vancouver, BC, or Canadian Goalball, it should come up for you, and they have their own channel there, so you can watch them play. Yeah,
BC definitely has a Goalball program, and that was pretty much the first elite team that I ever played was against BC. And then the other one that would be around would be Avalanche from Portland. But those guys, I remember when I first started playing BC, they were throwing so hard. It's just like, oh, wow. And that kind of bumped our game up playing those guys. But yeah, BC definitely has a great Goalball scene up there. So we're going to wrap this up, and I want to go around and ask you guys, we're out here playing blindfolded, running around throwing this ball, the bell's going on, and all of us really love playing. I know for me, if I could play a pickup game of Goalball every day, I would be out there playing. I just love playing it. Such a fun sport. If you could pick one word to describe your Goalball experience or something that you feel when you're playing Goalball, what would that be? And mine, I was thinking about this. I'll just go first. For me, it's excitement. It's just being able to get out there, and as we mentioned near the beginning when you're talking about how to play, the floor is roped off. So you know your boundaries. You're playing with your teammates. They're making noise. You know where you're at. And so as a blind person, and I feel like this is similar with doing running, just being able to get into that space and not have to be inhibited or hold back is just really exciting, because when, everybody's seeing blind people out walking around, we got our canes and everything. You got to be real careful out there in the real world, or even at home. Got to watch out or you get hurt or fall off of something. But out on that Goalball court, you don't have to worry about any of that. You got to pay attention to not hit your teammate and things like that. You have to be safe. but it's clearly a spot where you can just let loose. So for me, it's just the excitement out there playing the game. So what is one word for you guys that you think about when you're playing goal ball?
Well, I'll go first, and this is Richard. Freedom. Being able to just go full speed. Not worried about running into a wall or anything like that. Communication with your teammates is key, but the ability to move how fast you want to move, the high intensity kind of kicks in, your heart rate's pumping, so free to just let it go. You said it earlier, Lucas, just let loose, and that's what I'll go with, the freedom to just let loose.
Wow. That's my word, is wow. I mean, everybody that played this game, everybody that experienced this game, we all feel the same thing. But when you first step on the court and go through your first tournament, after everything is all done, it's win or lose, it's still wow. I did it.
Nice. That's really great to hear that. And I feel the same way. And we're going to get out of here. And hopefully soon we'll have some Go Ball games playing on the air. We're going to be working on that coming up. But I really want to thank Richard and Honda for being with us today. Is there anything you guys want to leave the audience with before we get out of here?
Let me give a shout out to Rainier Adaptive Sports. Find us on Facebook. Google us. Show up. Be there for us. We really appreciate it. Thank you, y'all.
And for me, I play with Seattle Adaptive Sports. Please, Rainier Adaptive Sports, just any goal ball tournament that you guys out there might be able to come volunteer at. Volunteering is something that we all need in the game of goal ball. Without the community, we don't have a game. There's a lot of roles that you guys could play. And interacting with us, come down, have some fun, learn the game a little bit, learn the X's and O's, learn the strategy, just come have a good time. We appreciate everybody listening. We appreciate the support. So please reach out to just any of what we've just said as far as Rainier Adaptive or with their scheduling or Seattle Adaptive. We work jointly as well with other Puget Sound not-for-profits in Vancouver, Portland. So anywhere you are, from the sound of our voices, if you can come in and volunteer, please, we would appreciate it. And if there's any other questions that you have for us as far as Go Ball, please contact Lucas or any of us through any of the channels that we are going to be providing for you. Thank you very much again.
This episode of On the Record was brought to you by Rainier Adaptive Sports. To learn more about this organization, go to www.rainieradaptivesports.org.